So here's what happened. A while back, I received a commission to make a late 80s / early 90s R&B beat fit for a ballad by an artist. He commissioned me. And the song I got for reference was Show Me by Harold Hewitt, who you may know as the lead singer of Shalimar, the 80s band. I listened to the song and I immediately said, "Oh, say less." That's actually not what happened. I left him on red for a couple of days. But either way, that inspired me to make the beat that we are about to break down today. Let's go. Now, me personally, I am super proud of this beat, especially of the way that I managed to capture that essential late 80s / early 90s R&B feel, that dreaminess and that smoothness in it. Now, as for my ingredients, they are as followed. From the V collection, I used the DX7, I used the Solina, and I used Analog Lab, which is a collection of instruments, I know, but still. As for drums, the main drum kit that I used is the Legacy drum kit. It's the vintage drum kit under the Legacy folder, under the PAX main folder, which is standard in FL Studio. And I used a couple of guitar loops which I got from Splice because I felt that my playing wasn't up to par for the feel that I needed for this beat. Now, each of those ingredients will be broken down later in the video, but for now, let's go and dive into the chord progression. Alright, beautiful folks, I am super happy to welcome you back into FL Studio. Let's break down this chord progression. Let me just switch back because there's something that I don't want to reveal just yet. So we are writing this chord progression in C sharp major, and the foundation is these two chords, which is a D sharp minor 9 chord right here, the second degree, and an F minor 7 chord right here, the third degree, of which I doubled the third. These are my foundations, so these chords you'll be hearing a lot in this chord progression. They are supplemented by two passing chords right here, an A sharp augmented chord right here, and a G sharp sus2 chord right here. Now this is where the magic in the chord progression is happening, and I want to take a little bit of a detour to explain what's happening here. So this is what really gets me pumped up about this chord progression. Now, if you're a little bit familiar with the piano roll in FL, you know that these blackened lines indicate that you're using a note that is not in the key that you're working in. But that doesn't have to be a problem because I made use of a cool technique called modal mixture. What I essentially did, well, we know I'm working in C sharp major. I took a little trip to C sharp minor to see what they had there for me, and they had some amazing stuff. So let me just go to this, let me go to view, let me go to scale highlighting, let me go to the natural minor scale, and you can see that all of these notes are perfectly in key. You can see that if we're reasoning from a C sharp minor scale, I am working with the 4th degree, which is an F sharp minor 9 right here. I am working with the 5th degree, which is a G sharp minor 7 chord right here. And I am working with my 1st degree, which I turned into, let me try and get this right, a C sharp 9 sus 4 chord. That's exactly it. So it basically is a 4-5-1 chord progression that allows us to hop back into that D sharp minor 9th from the C sharp major scale, just like that. So let's head into sound selection, beautiful people. I've divided them in chord layers, in accent layers, and in the bass I've got about 4 chord layers, I've got about 3 accent layers, and 2 bass layers. Now I'm gonna be showing you the entire ensemble, and then we're just gonna take our time quickly running through all of those layers. So let's take a quick glance at the patches that I'm using for chord layers in this beat. Mostly the ensemble is comprised of an electric piano, a regular acoustic piano played by Analog Lab, a pad patch, and a 6-string semi-shin patch, which I found in the DX7 as well, and they sound like this. Chords in place, the accents had to shine, so I took out the Lost Souls patch in the Selena V, I took out the Dire Dreams patch in the DX7, and I took out the horns for Hudson to get some really 80s style brass going on, and this is what those layers sound like together. And last but not least, you've got the bass patches in Analog Lab. One of them is literally called 80s bass, which you'll immediately recognize when you hear it. And the other one is called the bass you actually use, which I know is from the Mini V. And those are just closing off the set. Now, what I mainly try to keep in mind for myself when curating the sounds that I wanted to use for this beat is that I wanted to something that conveyed a dreaminess and a smoothness. And dreaminess to me may mean something different to you, but when I just kept repeating that word in my head, all of the instruments started making sense, especially the accent layer with the dreamy electric piano that goes da 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 da. Okay, so let's get into drums. Now, being as this beat is situated at 80 BPM, it is of course ideal for a ballad, but I still wanted to introduce some form of tempo in it, and I feel I did that by making sure that the kick and the snare and the clap are the anchors of the beat, and the rest of the percussion is just making sure that we have a groove that we can get down to in between, one that complements the smoothness of the ensemble that we have created with the instruments. So I'm just going to be playing y'all the drum layers and y'all can see for yourself exactly what I did. So just to recap, these are all of the sounds that I use from these vintage kit in the legacy folder, in the packs main folder in FL Studio, which is a standard edition. Now these are based on the sounds of the Roland TR-808, the absolutely legendary drum kit of course, which has seen a lot of use in pop, soul, and R&B, especially from the 80s onwards. So use that if you really want to get that classic late 80s to early 90s R&B feel. It still holds up even today. Okay, so let's talk about those guitar loops a bit, right? Because I introduced them when most of the beat was already done, and I wanted them to complement the dreaminess that I already had. But I think that, especially with that electric guitar pattern strumming there, I think it adds a nice contrast to the soft and dreamy ensemble that I already got. I think it adds a layer of sheer harshness and passion and something that's really evocative and deep and just very, very intense. And beautiful people, that about wraps up this video on how to make this godly late 80s slash early 90s R&B beat. I want to thank y'all for being my constant motivation and keeping me disciplined on making videos like these. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear your reactions. I would love to see you share it, and I would love to see you subscribe if this video made you enthusiastic about what I can do. And most of all, I hope to see y'all good folks in the next video. So y'all be easy. Peace.